winning trophies. I'm inexperienced in a lot of those things.
3-0.
Can you believe it?
Almost lost the cup and you win it. The new European champions, the treble, the dream come true for you.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Football, bloody hell. But they never give in. And that's the winner.
Welcome to the American Red Devils podcast. I'm John.
I'm Alex.
And we are bringing you the best Manchester United news from this side of the pond.
Ooh, sir, how you doing? How you doing? It is international break blues. We got no Manchester United at the moment, but transfer news is coming in hot. We got international friendlies, of course, amongst Europe and Reds abroad. Sir, how you feeling?
Sir, international break blues? I love international break. We're coming back. World Cup qualifying in Europe. We have some big games here for Olympic qualifying for the U.S. men's national team under 23s. We also have some big U.S. men's national team friendlies that are being played in Europe, which means they're going to feature a lot of European-based U.S. men's national team players. Preview for the World Cup, sir. World Cup 2022. It's in winter. Fortunately, it's in Qatar, but still, international football. I like it, sir. I know you're not the biggest international football guy, but I love it. I love it.
Anything that detracts from my Manchester United, I just find is distraction. Especially given the amount of games. I understand they have to, we have the Euros. People got to make qualifiers for the World Cup, but they're playing a lot of football, and then they're playing 3 games, and then you have Marcus Rashford walking up to England camp limping in. It's like, dude, you should be in Carrington. What are you doing?
That was like, seeing Rashford get out of the car, like doing his best not to limp, but he was limping. England videotaping it and then posting on their social media is absolutely a riot. It's like they're like, he has arrived.
He's fine.
Pieces. Like Humpty Dumpty's in pieces here. We're gonna try to put them together. I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where I hope he doesn't play too much. He just needs some rest. I totally agree on that front, but World Cup's coming up, sir. It's the World Cup to me is a big deal. And I know you're kind of like the wait for the World Cup guy. You don't like the qualifiers guy. You don't like watch the qualifying for the World Cup.
Well, the U.S. doesn't have the best track record. They don't always play the most exciting football. So it can be difficult, but, I'm excited to watch the boys play when available. You know how hard it is to stream international friendlies in the United States, sir. We could talk all about that. But hey, the USA team is putting together a young, exciting squad that's primarily playing in Europe where they should be playing. And as long as that's going to be the approach, I'm going to be more inclined to watch. So
No, but I'm saying like World Cup qualifying is only in Europe right now. The U.S. men's national team, they don't start qualifying until September.
Got it.
So but you don't rate I think that these games, like if they're friendlies, I totally agree. It's more like doldrums, but there's something in these games. Portugal is playing, France is playing, they're qualifying for the World Cup. I mean, something's got to give. You're going to see some like interesting formations, interesting team selection as well. I think it's interesting. Like today, France, they drew Ukraine. Pogba and Martial both coming off the bench. Can you believe that?
Can't believe it, sir. But it is a good chance for some of the players who aren't getting enough minutes to get some minutes, right? Like I don't know if Donny van de Beek, it didn't look like he started for the Dutch team. They did play today. But hopefully he's going to be given a chance with 3 games, and that's what you'd like to see. Pogba come back from injury, so him getting some minutes. My concern is always around injuries, sir. We got a big push in April and May to finish the league strong and hopefully win some Europa League majesty. Oh my God, what a cup! I can only imagine getting my hands on the Europa League, sir. So that's my only concern. I'm always thinking about United first, but it is exciting. It is football. Especially if you have it BBC or whatever it's being streamed on Sky. But for the average American who doesn't, it's probably difficult to watch those games because they're not showing a lot of them.
No, absolutely. Another mention, Portugal beat Azerbaijan, sir. Ronaldo and Bruno did get on the same pitch, but Bruno coming off the bench, another one, United player off the bench for some reason. Tough to get a start. Dan James did start for Wales against Belgium. Belgium beat Wales 3-1. Lukaku with the penalty. De Bruyne and Torgan Hazard with goals. Lukaku continues his scoring run after he leaves Manchester United, sir.
Never looked back. Tell you what, when we burned that jersey, I think we set his soul free because now he's just like scoring, scoring for free, scoring for fun down in Serie A. I think, without replacing him, and Cavani, I don't know, maybe he's considered a replacement, but we're missing some goals, so we're missing some presence up front. We're light up front, as your boy says.
No, absolutely. And I would say that, I'm probably, Manchester United, number 1, U.S. men's national team, number 2. And if there was a third team, it probably would be England, sir. I'd cheer for England. My 23andMe says 60% of my DNA is from London, if you can believe it. There's also a little Manc in there as well, sir. I'm heavy British Irish. There is Manchester in there. I did verify. So that's where my Manchester United roots come from. But England, big qualifiers, San Marino tomorrow, 12:45 p.m. kickoff. Albania Sunday, obviously March 28th. And then they play Poland Wednesday, March 31st. We talk about Luke Shaw. Jesse Lingard's playing, even though he's on loan. He got the call up. Rashford, sir, big players for United. And obviously, if you're a fan of EPL, England's always a team to watch. So I am excited for these. I mean, there's something to play for. These are real matches. U.S. men's national team playing friendlies, but I'm going to be watching these England matches.
No, England's always probably the team to watch after the U.S. because most likely to have a good number of United players featuring. Obviously, Greenwood didn't make the squad this year. I think he was called up for the under-23s and pulled out injured. Probably needs a blow as well. But Harry getting the call up. Luke, of course, the informed left back at the moment. Hopefully he gets some starting time. Not that he needs more minutes, but it's good for him, to get appreciated for how good he's been playing. The interview we're about to do, sir, with Stan, we talk about it. He has been a breakout this year. So hopefully he can stay fit, doesn't get injured, knock on wood, and kick on from there because he keeps getting better and better.
And you are correct on the Netherlands. Donny van de Beek on the bench did not come off the bench. Turkey did smack him 4-2. That was a big upset. You had Memphis Depay leading the line at number 9, sir. Who would have thought?
Speaking of ones that got away, sir, would you take back Memphis Depay these days?
Going by the moniker that Ed Woodward will not replace the player if you sell him, then I would take him and Lukaku back at Manchester United, and I think we'd be better for it, unfortunately.
It's actually, you're probably right, because it's amazing. You sell players and then you just never replace them. That's like a hell of a strategy.
I don't want them, but under the current regime, I would say it's probably a keep. I'll keep him. But, sir, international break, lots of fixtures, watching players all over the world. But first, we got a quick PSA for the podcast. If you like the American Red Devils, we are for fans, by fans. We are 100% directly supported by the fans. There are no commercial sponsorship on this podcast. Just me and Alex giving you the biased fan take from the couch. If you want to support us, the best way to do so is Patreon. Check out our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/American Red Devils. You can support us across multiple tiers, anything from $1 a month to $20 a month. We're giving away pins, stickers, scarves, shirts, you name it. Find a tier, support us. We're trying to build this website, the blog, and this podcast with the vision of fan support only. Independent fan content, sir. That is the best you can get from us these days. Also, check out our website, www.americanreddevils.com. Amazing fan-generated content like we talked about, all fan blog based. We have some great content. CJ with a great article about Donny van de Beek finding his way at Manchester United up today. Check it out via our social media and our website. Also, we have great merch. Click on store, beanies, masks, scarves, shirts, pins, stickers, you name it, the lot, sir. Tell them about iTunes reviews.
iTunes reviews are one of the best ways to support the American Red Devils without spending any of your hard-earned cash, sir. All you have to do is write a 5-star review on iTunes. It has some cheeky banner, even better. Take a screenshot, send it to AmericanRedDevils@gmail.com with your mailing address, and we will send you some Stan Chow designed logo stickers right to your door. ASAP Rocky, free of charge, sir. Free of charge. Best deal in town. And it's a great way for us to be found organically and a great way for us to continue to grow the American Red Devils for fans, by fans, like you mentioned.
Sir, that is the PSA for the pod. It's international break, so we have some guest interviews that we like to bring on the pod. Sir, big friend of the pod. We talk about all the time. Stan Chow, he did design our new logo, our podcast cover, sir. He has you smiling. He has me mean mugging. He got the caricature absolutely spot on.
I'm about to say, if one of us is going to be mean mugging and one of us is going to be smiling, I think he knew us without knowing us.
Absolutely, sir. You want to give a little preview to the interview?
Yeah, we had Stan on last September, right before the season kicked off, and international break. American Red Devils never rest on their laurels, so lucky enough to have him back on. It was a pleasure to do so. Here it is, the one and only Stan Chow, sir. And back on the pod again, we have the one and only Stan Chow, illustrator, artist, and Mank, friend of the pod, Sir Stan Chow, for the work he did for us on the logo and the new podcast cover. Stan, welcome back to the American Red Devils.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Yeah, good to be back. Yeah, good to be back. Yeah, it was a better times this time than the last time. But yeah, it was an improvement since the last time we spoke.
Well, I was looking last time we spoke. So we spoke in September, right before the season kicked off.
Yeah.
So there's two different things: COVID and football. Football. Yeah. We were headed in. We weren't so sure. What's your take on the season so far? It's been an up and down season, but what's your make of it? It's been up and down season.
I mean, I think we don't deserve to be second with the kind of football we're playing, but we're second, so I can't complain. I mean, like for me, like the biggest factor of 2021 is Pogba being injured, and that's before Pogba was injured, we were top of the league, and since he's been injured and he's come back, we're like 10 points behind. So what does that really tell you, really? It's like, as much as we've people have spoken about Pogba, he makes a difference, really, and him and Bruno in midfield, Man United can control games when they're in the midfield, playing well, but without one of them, it's like it's the half a team basically. Yeah,
it takes away something, right? It puts all the pressure on Bruno. But let's get right to that quick title race that only seemed to last a week or two. What do you think was the thing that made us just lose our form? You think it was the losing Pogba, the injury, or you think it was just we couldn't keep up the momentum? Yeah.
And also I think losing Pogba and Cavani's inconsistency. We know how good he is, but since he's been United, he's been in and out because of his injuries. And when he comes back after 2 or 3 weeks out, he's not sharp enough. Simple as that, really. When instead of one of 3 or 4 games, he's great, but then it's just kind of like. But then we lose Pogba, and that was, I think that's just made a difference. I don't think teams. You kind of the whole cliche of you win the game before kickoff, and when you have Pogba and Bruno on the team sheet before any game, already the opposition are worrying. But now, as I say, with one of them out, it just kind of doesn't feel coherent enough. But I think I don't know how the fact that we got into the title race and top of the league was like, whoa, how did that happen? But it was a good run of form despite not playing the best football. Don't get me wrong, I never felt confident we'll win any game, but somehow we just won them. That was the bizarre thing. It's like we go into each game, I'm not sure we're going to win this game, but then we win it, and we go 2-0 down and win the game. It's really bizarre. So yeah, it's been if we forget the football and we just told us we're second, we'll be happy. But we watched the football, and some of it's been shocking. And it's just and it's like we have moments of magic, but it's not like the old days where we can dominate a game for 80 minutes. And it's like I don't know how long you've been watching United for, but ever since like the mid-late 90s, it feels like we can go into every game and just dominate for most of the game and win it. Even we won the game before even the ball's been kicked. And now it just doesn't feel like that at all whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's been an up and down season for sure. And do you think the amount of games, they've been playing at a pretty aggressive clip in terms of volume, like every
God,
3.5. You think that contributes at all to us not being able to kind of maintain some of the high form we showed earlier in the season?
I totally agree. I think at the start of the season there wasn't enough match fitness. Then when the match fitness came, now they're just too tired because he doesn't rotate enough. I mean, like players like Maguire, Fernandes, Rashford, they've all played more, like 1,000 more minutes than any other player from City or Liverpool or any other top six. Their minutes are like, hang on, how many minutes have you played? And that's concerning, really. I understand like why they play so many games. It's because I guess Ollie doesn't trust his second string. He's too scared to rotate, and sometimes the way that we play, I don't blame him really. It's like, like Dan James, for example. He only fits when we're playing it on a counter. We know we're gonna not have possession. Like Man City, for example. Dan James is a perfect player. Against Leeds will always attack you. Dan James on. The European games like Sociedad. If Ollie knows that the team are going to play high up the pitch, just put Dan James on, and they're not many games like that. See, that's why Dan has. That's why he's not had the minutes he needs really. But having said that, you give him too many minutes, and you looked in the last few weeks, he's been pretty not great. So I'm trying to be as diplomatic as possible.
But those matches, they catch up to you, right? Like you said. But I want to hit on that point for a second because it's a good one. Do you think it's about the lack of squad depth, or you think Ole just needs to be a little bit more comfortable about making risks about switching the squad up, like Fergie used to do?
He's been a bit more confident because the players don't have that confidence. I think the second string players know they're second string players. And then they know they're not in a fight for. Where I think, for example, a team like Man City is like Guardiola rotates them round. They're like it's a merry-go-round there. There's like, and to a degree, like when De Bruyne is not playing, or Silva's not playing, or Mahrez ain't playing, or even Sterling's not playing, it doesn't matter. They've got someone else who can slot straight in, and I think that's because of, they're getting plenty of games, so they know their system, and they also know, and they're also confident that they'll get minutes. Where Man United. The second string players aren't confident they'll get minutes, and when they do play, they're probably looking over their shoulder. Oh, I'm not sure when we're going to play again. I think this reminds me of the Nani factor. I think like when Nani used to play at United, like when it was like when he was getting rotated, he just wouldn't play well. Because he was too scared like to lose his first team place, so that just affected his confidence massively. But when Antonio Silva got injured with his broken leg, Nani had his best season because he knew he was going to be starting every day, every week. And I think what's happening with Man United is like, the players that know they're going to be starting are playing well, but the players that aren't starting every week, they know they're not going to get a start. That's the main problem.
And the players that are playing a lot are fading because they're getting tired, and you can kind of see that. Harry and Bruno, and they're starting to show their. I mean, obviously Rashford, he went down injured, even though he's still going on international break. What's that all about?
I don't know. Hopefully he, just give him half a game. He doesn't need to play all 3 games. Hopefully he doesn't play all 3 games. In fact, United should just take him out of the squad, really, as far as I'm concerned. But then again, he's important for England.
No, absolutely, and it's a good point. You would hope that he would just withdraw because he's probably, he wants to make it back for United's last push, let alone playing for England.
Yeah.
I want to just like close out that point because I think it's an important one about playing your B team players. Do you think it's giving Ole a disadvantage by not giving more trust in the Matiches and the Donnies and the Matas of the world who, if Fergie was doing it, he put Darren Gibson in midfield, right? He did whatever it took, and I think. Do you think Ole needs to show a little bit more of that, given some of the teams he's up against?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I still feel like if Juan Mata, for example, I think he's injured at the moment now, but like if he, he can damage teams, you know. But the problem is he's not been given enough minutes to prove that for a start, and because he hasn't had enough minutes, he's not had enough kind of like the match fitness to be able to, like be on top form. You know, the whole point about rotating teams is like he keeps all the players fresh. And like and right now, I think what we're seeing right now is what we saw towards the end of last season. The COVID break bit where like we started off really well.
Yep.
Like playing then we have 12 games, wasn't it? Without the lineup being changed. Was it 12 games or 7 games? I can't remember. But that's ridiculous. The same lineup, starting lineup for so many games, and then all of a sudden by game 10, it was no surprise that we were just scraping through games, basically. And I think that this is kind of what's happening now. I kind of think that the United coaching staff made the assumption that the first 11 could probably just plough all the way through, but I think they made the wrong assumption. That's all. I mean, go on.
No. I was. Do you think it's going to end up biting them in the ass though? Because obviously,
we
got April and May. We got
Yeah, I think we'll end up in top 4, but and we'll die a whimper in the later stages of the Europa League. But we'll hang on to like 4th, I reckon. Just about.
You don't think we finish second? You don't think we hold on to second place, best of the rest?
The way we're playing, we'll be lucky to. Yeah,
it's tough running. We got Leicester, right? We got Wolves last day of the season. We got Spurs.
Well, look, Wolves is a guaranteed 0-0. And Spurs. Who knows what's going to happen with Spurs? That's. I can see us being sucker punched by Spurs.
Totally.
Because you know how Mourinho's going to play. He's just going to hold back. And then it's going to hit us on a counter if we need. Well, depending whether we need the points or not, really. Depends how safe we are. If we need the points, regardless, and if Spurs need the points, Spurs will just still sit back. And play us on a counter. That's Mourinho's style, isn't it? But yeah, it's gonna be tricky. I mean, like if we win our next 2 games, it just makes life a bit easier. But it's still kind of. I wouldn't be resting on my laurels yet until the last game of the season.
No, totally. That Brighton one, the next league game we have is going to be a big one. They're fighting for relegation, and you never know what Brighton side's going to show up. So that could.
Well, watching Brighton, I think they're playing magnificent football. They just can't pull it in the back of the net. In terms of football, they pass it around nice. They're a pretty team to watch. But yeah, they just can't pull it in the back of the net But knowing us, like was it last season or the season before where Brighton beat us? And it's like, how the hell did they beat us? I'm basically getting the last 2 seasons mixed up. I can't differentiate.
No, it's the same with me. It all kind of blended with the COVID break, and it's been an absolute sprint.
Yeah.
No, that's great. So let's jump ahead because we talked about it. We're talking about Ole maybe finishing 4th, 2nd. If Ole just finishes in the top 4, no silverware, we get bounced in the Europa League this round or next. Do you think his job is safe?
I think his job is. I think they can offer him another contract before the end of the season.
Regardless.
But there's no other alternative now, though, is there? I think what we have now. He's done well enough to deserve at least another extension on his contract, in my opinion. Because individually, he's made Luke Shaw a better player. If Pogba stays, he's made Pogba look a better player. And I think individually he's made some of the players a lot better than they actually are. But then cohesively as a team. So we kind of failed somewhere. But also another example, like someone like Jesse Lingard, who's playing out of his skin, back in the England squad now, and it's like, how come he couldn't have done that for Jesse? You know, I mean, like, because right now we need that strength and depth. Someone like Jesse now, you know, he's the perfect player to kind of give to give Bruno rest, especially because Donny isn't the kind of player that can fill in Bruno's shoes. Donny is good at complementing Bruno, in my opinion. You know, you kind of need. I mean, the problem with Donny is if you play him as a replacement for Bruno, it's not going to work. But you play him next to Pogba, you play him next to Bruno, it makes those players play better. You know, but if you're going to play, I mean, like, for example, the Leicester game, you got Donny with Matic and Fred, and it's like, hang on, you know, are you expecting him to be the creative player here? That's not going to work. You know, but if either Pog or Bruno was with Donny, that would have been a completely different game. It's almost kind of like, you know, like Ollie's trying to force something out of Donny that isn't there, but he is useful when they got the other players around him, the right players around him. It's a damn shame really that he's kind of wasted, and hopefully, but you know, yeah, I think tactically he's, you know, I think he expects players to do certain things that they can't, especially, you know.
You think that because that's a good point. Let's talk about the Leicester game. You think that contributed to it? You know, a lot of people had either more questions with the starting 11 or the subs that were made and when they were made. You know, you think that's part of it? Like he expects Fred to be a ball player when at the end of the day he's really good off the ball, and even then Fred didn't have the best game in that regards against Leicester.
Oh God, the less I think about that.
Yeah, that was rough.
I mean, like, I think. Oh God, it's hard. I mean, like the idea of playing Fred was essentially to nullify the creative players, but I think sometimes you have to think the way around this. It's not a case of us worrying about them. They have to worry about us, really. You know, I mean, Leicester were laughing because we started that game without Rashford, Pogba, or Bruno. You know, who effectively are the best players this season, and he didn't even play Luke Shaw either, did he?
Nope.
And like Luke Shaw didn't start either. So
right.
So our four best players didn't even start that game. You know, and so that was. So I think Leicester, like, you know, went into that game full of confidence. You know. And also it's like tactically when you take out your four best players, and all of a sudden like the cohesion's gone. You know, and like I don't think anyone knew who to look up to on the pitch in that game.
Yeah, they had, I don't know if we played 11 quite like that, and what was surprising for us and for a lot of fans was, you know, Fergie. What would Fergie do? It's kind of, we always ask ourselves, hark back on that. Yeah. Obviously, he's the GOAT as managers are concerned. You know, you have to imagine he was a little bit more ruthless to the players. Ole's more of a players manager. He would have made subs at halftime. I mean, I know we got the goal, but we were not playing well, and he seemed more willing to make an impact with subs even at halftime, even if it pissed some players off or knocked their confidence, because he knew how to make an impact and kind of, you know, get the players riled up. But I'm not sure we've always seen that under Ole.
No, you're probably right, but also I also think like Sir Alex would have started with a starting 11 that would not made the team feel inferior. You know, and like there have been times where Sir Alex will put a team out, and you're like, what is that all about? But I think at the time, I think the thing is like when he puts a strange lineup out, it looks strange to us, but I think he knows exactly what the players are there for. You know, for example, there's times when we had Owen Hargreaves and Park, they're playing in the front three, and it's like, what are you on? You know, as a watcher, it's like, what's he doing? But then when the game plays out, it's pure genius. You know, there's another game against Arsenal in the FA Cup game. You know, when they play Fabio and Raphael on the wings, and it's like. but they knew exactly what their jobs was. You know, the problem with this lineup was they didn't know what their. I don't think they knew what their expectations were. That's all. I think that's the main difference between when Alex and Ollie picks his team.
That's a good point. Stan. So moving on, what do you have a favorite moment of the season thus far? I know there's a lot of season to play, but
oh my goodness, let me think. I'm trying to remember now. Oh my god.
It all blends. I mean, honestly, it's this.
It's like oh, this happened and that happened. That was last season, you know.
Like signing Bruno feels like 3 months ago. You know, it could.
Yeah, I know. Let me think. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, oh my god. I mean, like the 9-1 against Southampton was lovely to watch. You know,
Can't beat that scoreline.
There's nothing better than watching United score lots of goals in a game. You know, that's you know, yeah, that was quite nice. I mean, like beating City 2-0 was also great. You know, but essentially, just for the last few times we beat City, it doesn't mean anything. You know, we're not dented any, we're not affected anything. You know, and like. I mean, we beat them in the League Cup, and then we still lose bloody on away goals, whatever it was. You know, like the season before last. You know, and so it's good beating City, but yeah, it'll be better if beating City actually meant something. You know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, that's a good point. And do you have Stan? Do you have a player of the season thus far?
Oh, it's I mean, like Luke Shaw's been amazing, you know.
Yes.
You know, like there's been times when Rashford. Well, Rashford is I love Rashford. You know what I mean? And there's been moments. Rashford's had some good moments. Bruno has good moments. There's no one really that's kind of. I mean, like, yeah, Bruno's numbers are stupid. You know what I mean? So really, I should say, like Bruno, but like, but sometimes he does kind of like fade in and out of games. You know what I mean? Which I think like his expectations are so high now that when he doesn't play anywhere near that, you're just disappointed in him. You know? And yeah, I mean, like the resurgence of Pogba, like kind of like around about Christmas, is probably my favourite thing to happen this season, really. You know, I mean, like Pogba looking great is one of my favourite things. You know, what I mean? I thought he looked really good against Leicester actually, and did he got taken off, didn't he? Or did he start? I can't even remember. But the time that he's on the ball, he's so strong. You know what I mean? He's like the strongest man I've ever seen with a ball. You know? No, he reminds me of Yaya Toure, like when he just holds off people.
That's a good point. He's that moment. Like, there's probably only a couple of weeks where he was fit, Bruno was still top form, and Cavani was fit, and United was like, we've got something here, you know. Yeah. But unfortunately, injuries. Pogba's had, you know, not the best track record with injuries in the Premier League, so it just didn't last.
No. I mean, I just admittedly, like throughout the whole season, there's no one really been consistent enough to kind of make me kind of say, yeah, you know, that they've been great. But you know, but you know, I say Luke Shaw, Rashford, Bruno, Pogba, they've all had their, you know, they've had prolonged good moments basically. So yeah, if I had to pick one, it has to be Rashi still.
Yeah. Rashi or Luke. I mean, Luke has actually gotten better and better and better this season, surprisingly. Whereas the other players, you'd argue, have not been as good in the last month. Whereas Luke, his last 4 weeks might be his best 4 weeks. Yeah,
that's true. But this Luke Shaw is the Luke Shaw we've always expected. You see,
right?
He's not a better player than the player that we bought. This is the Luke Shaw that we expected. Do you know what I mean? It's like I don't think he's playing beyond the expectations from what we had. So he's just kind of essentially he went so bad that this is the kind of form we expect him to. He should be in. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like it's almost like I'm just trying to think of an analogy. You know, you kind of like if you're the president of a country, you make the situation so shit, but then just before the election time, you change it to make it look better, to look good again. You know, Luke Shaw is essentially like that, really. You know, he's I think he's playing to the standard that we expect him, and hopefully he'll improve on that, really. You know, and that's when we'll probably that's how I'll see where he's got better. You know.
He breaks on through to the next level.
But he's playing like a good quality fullback, which is good.
Which is very good to see. Speaking of which, we're gonna switch gears a little bit. Players that are in great form, and players that probably got away. Erling Haaland, he feels like the one that got away. How much do you think United will come to rue not buying him for £18 million last January? I know there was all these agent fees, which is why we balked. We're light on cash, that's why we balked. But he's gonna go to City. I mean, it's in the stars. He's going to City. He's going to get a massive deal. He's going to score 300 goals for them, and with Messi behind him. How much is United going to come to regret not, doing the Norwegian connect and bringing Haaland in earlier?
I think well, if he goes to City, I think City will just win everything for the next decade, basically.
That's what I fear.
Yeah, but having said that, well, there's. Greenwood could come good. Ahmad could come good. Shoretire could come good. I mean, like Rashford, when playing with no injuries, would be as good as Haaland. But he's been injured for like 18 months now. Since his back injury,
right?
Like last year, he's not. But the standard he's maintained despite being injured is remarkable. I think he's starting to fade a bit now, but he's been carrying a shoulder and an ankle injury for God knows how long now. So the fact that he's even playing like regularly is pretty impressive. So you just want to hope that by the time next season, if he's 100% fit, we've got one of the great players in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
No doubt.
Or potentially,
Probably just need to sign some more attacking players to take some of the onus off him, right? He's been playing, and even the best players need to rotate a little bit.
I mean, the question is like, if we can't get Haaland, like, who do we buy? I mean, like there's Haaland, and then there's the next level down.
Right.
And it's a big drop. There's kind of no one close to Haaland. There's like him, and then
him and Mbappe, but we're not going to be able to get Mbappe either.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, who are the players after those two? I mean, you kind of are looking at Raheem Sterling and Rashford,
right?
Even Harry Kane isn't that close up to, isn't on that, our level below Haaland and Mbappe. But yeah, Harry Kane would be a good signing.
He would if we could get him for a decent price.
Yeah.
Speaking of signings, this is going to have a big impact on signings. The news just broke. What do you make of the new sponsor, TeamViewer, replacing Chevy as the kit sponsor? Have you heard of him? Did you hear of him before, Stan, before this was announced?
No, I never heard of TeamViewer.
Yeah, me neither.
I made a few jokes, obviously, like on Twitter, like the second I heard. It's gonna be interesting how they adapt their logo onto our shirt. I mean, like at the end of the day, if TeamViewer, I don't know what the deal is, but like but hopefully it'll add to our transfer budget. And like the thing is that we can't. What's ridiculous is that we can compete with the biggest teams, but like, for example, like I still haven't worked out why Haaland went to. It was just Ed Woodward being shit.
Yeah.
That he went to Ed. I don't know what the full truth of why we didn't get him. So.
And they say agent fees I mean, I think we've been cash strapped for a long time, so I think they just didn't want to. And there was the whole like he would have a buyout clause that was in effect in 2022. But the thing is, we were talking about is like you get him in, and then you worry about that. You get it, he's like a generational talent. You sign him, and then you get him to like United, love United, and then you worry about that kind of. I know you have Riola, but you're already dealing with Riola with Pogba.
Yeah. So, but anyway, team viewer, like, never heard of him. But if they're giving, it doesn't really matter, really. You know, I never heard of Cola. You know, the side, the arm sponsor before, and then I realised they make toilets.
Make a lot of toilets.
Yeah.
That's good, Stan. Who do you think from our squad is good enough to actually win a Premier League title? You know, if it's not going to be this year, obviously we're building towards something. We know that 11 that's kind of been banged on the drum by Ole this season. They kind of pick themselves when fit. Who of those 11 is good enough to go on?
Okay, Shaw, Greenwood, Rashford, Bruno. Henderson theoretically is good. Henderson theoretically makes our defense play better. But aside from the FA Cup game, but the fact that like Henderson, the fact that he talks to the defense where De Gea never did, should essentially add to the defense being better. But I can't see. We need a replacement for one of Maguire, Lindelof or Bailly. The three of them aren't good enough to fill those two places. We just need someone else. I think. As far as I'm concerned, like Lindelof, Maguire, and Bailly, they're all equally as good as each other or as bad as each other. However you want to look at it, they both got their qualities and they all even themselves out. So we just need a player who can come in and who's just a bit better than all three of them.
Would that be your priority, Stan, for the summer, center back?
My priority would be not necessarily, but probably a replacement for Fred or Matic. Fred and Matic even. But my priority would be trying to work out a system which doesn't necessarily need us to play two holding midfielders. I think playing two holding midfielders consistently is compromises our attacking force. Sometimes I feel like maybe we're letting a goal, two goals a game, as long as we have the ability to score 3 or 4. It's the cliche to say that's the United way. That was never the United way, really, but it should be the way. Do you mean?
Yeah.
The United, it should be a way of like really focus, let the teams worry about us and not us worry about them. And I think the problem with the managers over the last few seasons is that we worry about the opposition as much as, and sometimes for example, Arsene Wenger, he never worried about the opposition. He just kind of like, here's my 11, deal with it. And I think, and to a certain degree, Fergie was like that most of the time. Especially maybe less against the bigger teams, but I think it's something like we miss the kind of the sense of cavalry. And sometimes like we just try and blow them out of the water. That's if they're gonna sit back and play and park the bus, so to speak, we just play a team. We just forget holding midfielders. We should have a system where where we don't need defensive midfielders. I think football can be played. I think we should be able to think of a way where maybe the whole team defenders won and the whole team attackers won, like the old school total football way. I know football's changed, and tactically, when Mourinho brought Claude Makélélé in for Chelsea, that just the whole holding midfielder just became a thing where I never thought it was actually necessary. Do you know what I mean? You know, and I think football can be moved on in a way where forget the holding midfielder and try and work out a system which negates the need for him. Maybe I'm just thinking too wild here. You know, I'm being too much of a heretic here. You mean what? No holding midfielders? Are you fucking crazy? You know, but I think football can be done that way.
Yeah, and they don't have to necessarily be Fred and McTominay, right? You could have Donny or Pogba be one of those holding midfielders. So I think you're definitely onto something.
Yeah, well, I remember the great Portuguese team when they had like what's it called? They had Figo, they had Rui Costa and another guy, and none of them were defensive midfielders, but they had three of those guys in the middle of the pitch. You know, and they just rotated round. You know, Figo, you'll have Figo defending for every now and again, and Rui Costa defending now and again, even though none of them are defensive midfielders. You know what I mean? They were just kind of like they just wandered around in midfield. You know, aimlessly. But but I feel like, you know, I mean, like back in the day, like, you know, I mean, like Roy Keane, Beckham, Scholes, Nicky, but none of them were really defensive midfielders. You mean, they're just midfielders. You mean, that was and I think like the whole need to actually kind of look for a player who's defensively minded in midfield actually just kind of spoils the game for me. You know.
Because you want people that can do everything, right? Like Fergie used to line up Carrick, Scholes, and Fletch in one midfield, and they would just dominate.
Yeah. Well, you know, well, they always used to say attack is the best form of defence. You know, and sometimes it's like, well, live by those words. Then you know, it's like if you say attack is the best form of defence and you're playing defensive midfielders, you're talking bollocks. You know.
Oh, man, this has been fun, Stan. I didn't want to chew up too much of your time. Last couple of questions. What do you make of the recent appointment, John Murtaugh, DOF, Fletcher to technical director? You think that's going to make a big impact?
No. You know, I don't know. You know, we'll. I mean, like personally, for me, someone like Darren Fletcher would probably be better suited coaching. Really, you know, I think he's got good vision. You know, so I mean, like, I don't know what's Darren Fletcher's the technical director. I don't know how much influence he has on the way United play. You know, if he can prove he has an influence, I mean, like, then great. But yeah, I'd rather him being actually, you know, in the training ground, really, because I think he's got enough about him to help the team, help the players progress. But if he's actually helping the players progress and he's part of the coaching team whilst the job he has, then that's great, you know. But if he's more backroom, like kind of upstairs, if he's halfway upstairs, then, you know, I'm not really, whatever his job is, I just don't. I mean, like, I don't think he is there to make the team better. He's there to organise other stuff. You know, whether it's the under 23s moving up to first team or whatever. You mean? So I don't know.
There you go.
I mean, like, I wish he had more of a direct say on the team personally.
Yeah, and probably the same with John. Seems like he's, you know, Matt Judge is still going to be negotiating contracts. Ed Woodward's still going to be in charge. So it seems like a DOF role in name only.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Which sounds about right for United these days. Yeah. Last couple things, Stan. Who do you think's getting relegated this season?
Oh, God. I'm trying to remember who's in the bottom three. Well, Sheffield United are going to get relegated.
Yeah, they're gone.
They're gone, yeah.
And then West Brom are right above them, so I don't think it's like...
West Brom too. Then it could, you know, in terms of quality of football, you know, I can see Fulham and Brighton going above Newcastle, you know. Newcastle look appalling from the football I've seen, you know. And they don't have unlike their main strikers are never fit. You know, so actually, you know, I tell you who would be good if Newcastle go down. United trying to snatch San Maximan would be a nice could be a nice cheap buy. You know.
We're going to need those cheap buys.
If he stays fit, you know, he seems to be injured all the time.
And what about who's your top four, Stan?
Top four, well, City. God, you know what? Like Chelsea looking good, aren't they? It's City, and then second, third, and fourth is hopefully United, Chelsea, Leicester, basically. You know, Liverpool. I mean, they could sneak in, but I don't think. I don't want them to sneak in.
They'd have to go on a run. And who do you think's going to win the Champions League this season?
Oh my God! Well, it's hard to look further than City, but who's still in it? I guess Bayern are still favourites, aren't they?
Bayern are in it. Bayern's playing PSG, I think, so that's a tough one. Chelsea, Porto.
You know what?
Dortmund.
Chelsea, Porto. It's for me. It's probably It's Bayern versus City, isn't it? In the next game round, isn't it? It's one of those two anyway. Afterwards,
you mean in the semis if they make it best?
Yeah, it's Bayern or City. I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, and then let's see. I don't think PSG. All they got is Mbappe. I don't think the rest of the team are up to it, as far as I'm concerned. I could be completely wrong, but you know, Mbappe is amazing. He's a one-man team. They are, you know,
unbelievable.
As much as I love Herrera.
How is and last couple questions? How's Sir Alex doing? Have you heard anything from the grapevine about how he's recovering?
I haven't actually. You know, I mean, you see him every now and again. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not hearing from anyone. I'm locked in my house. You know? As far as I'm concerned, nothing else happens outside other than games of football. You know. I mean, you know, you see him turn up at games every now and again. So I guess he can't be too bad. You know. And he's also started up this this initiative with our mayor as well. I can't remember what it was. I think it's a anti-suicide awareness initiative that he's done with the mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham. So he's out and about doing stuff.
You love to see that. And just as we wrap up, Stan, just tell us what you're up to at the moment. Tell everybody where they can find your stuff and buy your stuff, and give them an update if you don't mind.
Okay, you can find me at stanleychow.co.uk, and there you can get links to my Twitter and my Instagram and my football shirts. Here's on what you can't see me, but I'm wearing one of my football shirts. It says sausage, chips, and gravy on it. It's kind of based on the old 1980s kit, you know. So it's but these have actually sold out now, and so yeah, I'm making shirts. I'm doing a bit of work for Gary Neville, of all people. Who else am I doing work for? I can't think off the top of my head.
Well,
I'm doing a few books as well.
You had your books coming out in September, and you were excited about those. So if you want to mention those again, that sounds very exciting.
Yeah. In fact, actually, I got two books that came out over Christmas. It was called "Who is Martin Luther King" and "Who is Ruth Bader Ginsburg." I got two more books coming out in the next few weeks, and that's "Who is Jackie Robinson" and "Who is Jane Goodall." So, but we all know who Jackie Robinson is, and we all know who Jane Goodall is to a degree. But they're little kids' books, which are pretty cool.
Well, Stan, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming back on the pod. I want to thank you for doing the unbelievable job that you did on our podcast logo and our podcast cover. And thanks for being a friend of the pod. So we appreciate your time.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. I'll look forward to being back on again.
We can't wait. Hopefully we have some trophies to talk about, a trophy to talk about when we meet up later in the summer.
Yeah, just one will do for now. You know.
Just one. All right. Thanks again, Stan. Cheers.
Nice one. Cheers. Thank you very much, Alex.
What a great interview with the one and only Stanley Chow, sir. You always do a good job with interviews. You're like the American Red Devils Oprah.
Sir, I try my best. I get a little starstruck. Stan in person. I've been a fan of his for a long time. It's just a pleasure to have him on the pod. Pleasure to have him done our logo, which I have to say looks pretty choice. And to get some of his takes on United and Ole and everything else going on. So fun to have him on, and looking forward to the next time.
No, and speaking of being nostalgic, Stan really reminds me of like the United of old. Like, when I went to my first match, Fergie, that team and what United should be. And I think he brings up so many good points. The CDM point, Ole trying to play to nullify other teams when we should be just playing our game. And it makes you it helps me crystallize the picture of what the issues have been the last couple of matches. And he's totally right. Like, what are we doing not starting our best players against Leicester City and then trying to like nullify them in some strange way where it's like, no, we're Manchester United. We go and boss the game. And that's what we're supposed to do, and like the whole Ole not trying to change his team. We're starting to see it, sir. I think the picture is crystallizing a little bit on that front as it relates to the manager, because like Stan also brought up the point where the run-in post-lockdown was the same thing. It's like we were playing really well, relying on the same players too much, and then start breaking down. And I literally think the last couple of matches we've been seeing that same thing. And that's where we talk about Ole learning on the job and evolving. And that's a part of his game he has to fix, because 1-11 might work. But the idea that Jesse Lingard can't play for Manchester United or play well for Manchester United, that's clearly wrong, right? He got called up to England.
No, yeah.
And we need him.
I don't want to talk. I mean, we could talk about the issues with Ole and his shortcomings without talking about Jesse. I think the reason Jesse was moved was that at the time he had all these players in front of him, and then they all went down injured. So all of a sudden we could use Jesse. But you have to remember that in December he was getting no game time because Pogba was lights out and Donny could barely get a sniff. But that being said, I think the point you were making before that is a good one, and it's a right one. It's like what's crystallized over the last 2 years is what's Ole good at and what's Ole not good at. And the thing is, now he needs to fix the things he's not good at, because the things he's not good at have been probably the same issues for a little bit, right? Sometimes like being too reliant on the same 11, not being willing to make a big change, or big sub at halftime or early on in the game. And, I think that's been biting him in the ass in some of these cup ties. That's been biting him in the ass and maybe in how we finish some of these leagues. So we'll see, sir. He's going to have to figure some of that out if we're going to win silverware this year.
No, it's the ability to change before it breaks down in the right way at the right time, right? And I think Sir Alex, like you alluded to in the interview, he was the best at it. And it's like Ole just kind of like goes with the plan A until it just doesn't work, and then kind of scratches his head, and kind of pivots the other direction. But if you think about Jesse, like I put Jesse, that's on Ole, right? To a certain extent. And some players under certain managers will be in favor, but to have a player who's playing like that for West Ham and now called up for England and literally should be at United right now, that's a loss for this team, because we need that player. And the manager is the one who greenlit that move, right? That has to be his call.
No, but I don't think it was the wrong call. Just because he's playing well for a West Ham side, get called up by England. Like I said, what are you going to do? You're going to play Jesse Lingard in front of Pogba if he was fit, or in front of Donny van de Beek if he was fit? That's the problem, is like there's only a set number of positions.
Play him on the right. Don't you remember when Ole's at the wheel, he first came in, we played Jesse Lingard on the right.
Yeah, we did whatever we needed to do to win, but like he's not a right winger.
On the right,
he's maybe, but like who knows, he would play as well. Maybe like the fact that he got moved to West Ham and the stage isn't quite so big is allowing him to flourish. Like you can't just assume that he would start doing well if he played, because I don't think that's fair.
No, and look, this is international break tangent.
Talking about Jesse Lingard.
No, but I think there's actually something to be said, and it goes to Stan's point when he's talking about players that, once they're not in the starting 11, they're kind of just like the mojo kind of depletes. And I think Ole's so reliant on the starting 11 that it might affect like a Donny or a Jesse or a Dan James in a different way, where when they get in, they're not as comfortable. And that kind of bleeds into the team, whether they're happy or unhappy. And so while he can get a starting 11 happy, the Brunos of the world, the Rashards of the world, maybe the rest of the squad suffers, and that's where we're seeing like, yeah, he can get the best out of like Luke Shaw and, at certain times like Harry, like the whole starting 11, but it's the bench that loses. And then that's where the rotation comes in. And it's also goes hand in fist with his subs, where he kind of doesn't want to sub either and doesn't want to use that type of rotation, even though he was a super sub himself. So it's one of those where you kind of starting to see those tendencies crystallize. It happened when he came in always at the wheel. It happened after lockdown, and I think it's happening now. Whatever happened to the back three? We haven't seen that in a long time. We play the two holding midfielders in front of the defense, and that's it. I think we need we need to freshen it up a little bit. I think to Stan's point, like, hey, put one CDM in, play a two, and then go for it.
Right. No, I definitely agree. And back three, I think the last time we played a back three was when we got smoked by RB in that decisive game 6.
Yeah, but there was something about that was kind of like us changing it up.
And we're trying
and putting Tellus in there. Tellus looked great as a wing back.
And left,
right?
Yeah, Luke Shaw played left center back. And also, I think his point about you need to rely on the rotation players, because otherwise, once you need them to step up, they won't be ready to step up. Like, that's the point that he made that was actually spot on, because that's so true. And that's what Fergie knew how to do, whether he wanted to or not, because I think he just knew that you're going to need these boys at the end of the season. So, bleed him out, get him some game time. He hasn't done like Donnie should have played more games, and you would say the same about Mata and then even Dan James before he started featuring a lot in the last 10 games. So certainly onto something.
No, and the point on Donnie was just like literally, that was, Stan knows Manchester United better than most. It's like you can't play him like for Bruno. Now Jesse might be able to play like for like, but Donnie needs to play with a Bruno, and that's totally obvious. Or needs to play with Pogba in it too. It's just like, because you're totally right. You see Donnie try to replace Bruno, and it's like it's not working. But he's great with the 1-2s, and him and Mata would be good as well. Like, you have to understand the dynamics of certain players, and Ole trying to put a square peg in a round hole a little bit with that sub. It's just one of those where like Stan just hit the nail on the head, and that's exactly right. Like, you got to know how to use the players when. And I thought the Donnie subbing for Bruno, it just doesn't work.
Oh, he's got a lot to learn still, sir. Hopefully he's a quick learner, because
but it's not Donnie though. That's the one thing is like people want to hate Donnie. Like, is he good enough for United or not? And I actually think that he might be being misused, and he's also being on the bench so long. He's not getting game time. That kills your confidence, sir.
Totally. He's a top player who should have featured more. And I agree. There's no reason to not play him in the 6 or the 8, given that Fred doesn't always come off, and Matic is at the end of his rope, and Pogba is injured a lot. It's like there's no reason he shouldn't have gotten more game minutes at this point, because we know he's a player.
Sir, we could go on all day. Great interview with Stan Chow. Absolute legend. Love to have him on the pod during international break. But we got some news. Let's break it down. United in the news. So we're starting off here. Nicky Butt steps down as Manchester United's head of first team development, per The Athletic. Nicky Butt, Manchester United legend, stepped down as head of first team development after 9 years in coaching and player development roles at the club's academy. His quote, short and simple, "It feels like the right moment for a new professional challenge," he said in a statement on Wednesday. A little confused of why he's kind of abruptly leaving. Then The Athletic dropped an article, and according to sources, Nicky Butt and Murtaugh, the new director of football, they're like chalk and cheese, coming at football from different perspectives. Butt's vision based on his playing career, and Murtaugh comes from, being an administrator. They had friction, and then Murtaugh kind of got the nod from Eddie, and Nicky Butt was kind of said, "I'm out." So apparently it was a Murtaugh Butt row. Not surprisingly, Ed Woodward backs the suit, and as a result, the United legend is out. What do you make of the call here?
I didn't know that last bit was added. So, it probably does make sense given the timing, but Dude, this is a big loss because a lot of the good stuff that's been happening at the academy level in the last couple of years, last 5 years, he's had a big part in that. He's had a big part in the push to sign the best of Europe before they become like prohibitively expensive. And there's obviously been a lot of good moves to the academy level all around. So this feels like you probably nailed the nail on the head, sir, which is like Murtaugh is a suit, a money man, and he can basically like play the game that Woodward and the Glazers are going to require him to play, and but probably wanted to invest in the club and spend money, things that like Murtaugh is not going to be allowed to do, and that's kind of the new. It's probably part of his new job title is like he's going to provide some air cover for Woodward, and he's going to be the guy to blame when they don't sign nobody this summer.
It's really interesting because it felt like he was just coming up in the club, and then for him to bounce. You think this is a red flag on Murtaugh?
I mean, maybe it's a strange one. It's also because like, why did they pick Fletcher and not Butt as technical director? Right, like Fletcher has been in the club for like 2 months. Nicky Butt's been in the club for 9 years. I'm talking about
Murtaugh doesn't like Nicky Butt, so it's like I this is probably a casualty of Murtaugh getting that nod to the title, and then Butt kind of getting snubbed a little bit. And I think this is why he was pissed because he put in the work 9 years and he doesn't get anything out of it. Like, in Fletch gets the technical director role, which is kind of, who knows? A lot of titles, sir. We're talking about titles.
Not the kind we want.
The riff coming out early per The Athletic. That's probably from Nicky Butt's side.
And he's going to be in demand because he's a Class of 92 legend. He's won it all. He was a hell of a player. And he was doing good work. So this is a strange one. It's probably not a great sign, sir. It's probably, I mean, like, are there any good signs coming out of front office in Manchester United these days? Not really. They did the whole smoke and mirror show. Like, look, we appointed a director of football. And this is kind of like the facade is already kind of split off because people who've been following United know Nicky Butt was doing a really good job. And we thought he was being kind of like nurtured into this role. So this feels like a little bit strange.
Sir, you know what? This is the culture that Ed Woodward breeds. It's the same Ed Woodward that told Patrice Evra asked him not to extend his contract, shook his hand, looked in the eye like a man, said, Patrice, we're not going to extend it. And then without having a conversation with him, extended Patrice Evra's contract on his birthday, which Patrice found out via his agent. So Ed Woodward pulling a Jersey move there, and that's the type of stuff he likes to do. And I don't think that breeds a good culture. He also pulled the same thing to Rio Ferdinand as well. Just kind of like didn't let him know it was his last game at United. Ice cold, man. And to treat players like that tells you a lot about the man he is and what type of culture generally they have at Manchester United. So it's not surprised that Nicky Butt kind of got iced by Eddie here. Another United legend getting snubbed.
He's a little man that works for worse people. So it's going to be more of the same. It's like we're not going anywhere forward with this club being owned by the Glazers, being run by Eddie Four-Finger Woodward, sir. So it's going to hold your breath. I just can't wait till somebody buys us.
All right. Next bit of news. Eric Bailly believes intention behind new contract offer for Manchester United is to simply increase his asking price. As a source claims the Red Devils have been disrespectful to the defender and he's had enough. Sir, I've heard this in the press. Bailly camp coming out. Apparently he's getting disrespected on the contract re-up. Thinks they're trying to sell him. Rumors we're going to buy another center back. Bailly's mad. Tell us about Eric Bailly here.
So the rumor is that what pissed him off. No, let's talk about it. Eric Bailly is never available for more than 30 games in a season max. So, like, rightly or wrongly, he hasn't. He's injured every year, and we know that. And he has a tendency to hurt himself.
15 games.
What'd you say?
It's 30 games?
Max, I was saying. Like, the max he's ever played in one season in Manchester United, I'm sure, is never higher than 30 in all competitions. And that's part of the problem is that he's always injured. So, but he's also a hell of a player. Like, on his day, he is an elite center back. And I think he's like has the ability to be one of the best center backs in the league if he stayed fit, but he doesn't stay fit. So this is a tough one because like sir, if we let him leave, there's not necessarily a guarantee that he's going to be replaced. It's like, so you could lose Bailly and then he could just leave for free and then we got nobody. And it's like, oh, well, I'll just rely on an academy kid. You know?
Well, that's Ed Woodward special, bro.
Exactly.
It's just let players go for free and then lose money and then be in a worse position, right?
So how to ruin a football club in 5 easy steps. There you go. It's like he's a numpty, my man. He's a numpty.
Guess how many league appearances Eric Bailly had for Manchester United last season?
Last season?
Yeah.
8.
EPL games.
8?
4. 11 total. So his only year he played more than 30 appearances was 16-17, 38. He was healthy, and then since then 17, 18, 18, 18, 19, 18, 19, 20, 11, 20, 21, 15. So again, as far as Eric Bailly goes, I'm in your camp where, there's players who are just injured. And Cavani is one of those, and we've seen that. It's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. Eric Bailly is as well. And, I'd be surprised if any other team wants to buy him. So the fact that we're trying to re-sign him to then sell him, we did that with Phil Jones. How's that going? It's just one of those where you kind of bite the bullet and just try to sign somebody else. And I'm down to extend him a little bit just to see if he can get competitive. But, other than that,
I think was what pissed them off is that they only offered him a 12-month extension, which kind of, lets people know what you're trying to do, right? If they
to his injury record, I would almost agree with that.
Like he doesn't justify more than a 1 year extension.
What do you think?
I just think given the fact that on his day, he's quite a good player, and the fact that A and B, we're not going to they're not signing anyone else, that you just re-sign him. We re-signed Phil Jones over and over and over again. I'm not saying you have to give him that kind of money, but I think given the premium in center backs and the fact that we have broke owners, couldn't hurt to wrap him up for a couple of years. Might as well.
I do max 2-year deal.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I would rather re-up Eric Bailly than Phil Jones all day. But here's the thing. It's when it comes to renegotiations and re-ups, it's almost like, when Woodward haggles and, Jughead Judge, they haggle to the point of it's not even productive in the transfer window. It's almost like they do that to their own players at United. And it's like, hey, man, I understand every once in a while the dirty laundry on contract negotiations come out, but it's just figure out what you want and then just get it. It's just having this leak with Eric Bailly and drama and I mentioned the Patrice Evra thing. It's just you should be on the same page with your players. And that's how you should go about treating your team. So then there's not Eric Bailly's pissed. We need him to play and he's got his mind on his contract type of thing, right?
No, you're right, but think about it. Think about how Ed Woodward treated Patrice Evra and Rio Ferdinand, 2 club legends, and he treated them like dirt, absolute dirt. So you think he has much acclaim for, or high standing for Bailly? He's a bad guy, and he's not good at running this club, and it only makes it worse. If there's shit being leaked all the time from players' camps because they're unhappy or they're not being treated right, it just makes the club look less attractive for buying new players, right? It's why would Holland want to join this club when he knows the place is a shit show?
Speaking of Holland, sir, next bit of news here. Mo Holland, Mo problems. Erling Holland. That's my title. You like that?
I'm going to use that. I'm going to nick that.
His wages are on the books, sir, demanding a whopping pay packet of £350,000 a week. He's looking for that De Gea money.
I think the wages would be the easiest thing ever. It ain't going to be the wages that's going to break this deal for us. We're not going to not get Holland because we can't afford to pay him enough on a weekly basis. We are losing this deal because we cannot fork over a buck plus. We can't fork over 100 million plus because we ain't got 100 million plus.
Well, here's the deal. John Murtaugh believes that Erling Haaland is the perfect long-term replacement for Romelu Lukaku, and United boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is expected to target Haaland in the summer transfer window. So it also came out this week. Ole is calling Erling Haaland. He is in touch with him via the phone, trying to recruit him. He was in
Via
touch
the
with
phone.
them when Dortmund signed him, if you recall. So again, put whatever stake you want in Ole calling Erling Haaland. The issue here is, okay, the director of football wants to buy Erling Haaland. The manager wants Erling Haaland. Sir, why won't we get Erling Haaland?
Because we don't have the
Football is running the footballing operations in Manchester United, and he can spend whatever money he wants. And our owners have backed him, and they've backed this manager, and they want to invest in the team. Why can't we go sign Erling Haaland?
because everything you said is incorrect, because he's not getting backed and he can't sign whoever he wants because we have a very limited budget. So this is just so we give off the appearance of a heavy. This is like we make it seem like, oh yeah, we're in the Haaland race. We're in the Haaland race. So when City get him, we don't, the fans don't feel quite as bad. Like, oh, we couldn't compete with City. It's like, it's only to keep face, basically to make us look like we're still a legit player, bro. And we ain't a player anymore because we're broke. We are so broke that, sir, we ain't signing nobody. And he's going to be the number one in-demand player in the world, right? City want him. Chelsea want him. Real Madrid want him. He's going to dominate football for the next decade. And we had our chance. So we swung and a miss. It was 18 million pounds. It was January 2020. And apparently he was valued at 3 like 2 years before that. But we're not going to have a chance to sign Erling Haaland unless someone else buys Manchester United from the Glazers.
Yeah, so I think that I've been thinking about this transfer window a lot. Obviously, international break, we're going to talk transfers. And, last transfer window with certainty, you could say, hey, it's going to be tough. We're not going to do a lot. Because COVID, right? There's just not a lot happening. This one is kind of that strange tweener where, we're going to start getting fans, but then you have the Euros, and the Euros always scuttle tons of transfers because players are at the tournament. They're not talking about transfers while they're playing. So it's usually after that. So I think you're going to see a flurry of activity, and it's going to be really hot and heavy, with these big names at the end. And so Haaland's going to be out there, but Mbappe is also out there, right? So if Real Madrid do an Mbappe, they're not going to do a Haaland. Man City, I've seen linked with quite a few different players. Harry Kane is out there. Chelsea's looking for a number 9 too. So it's going to be this sort of musical chairs. We also have Pogba, right? If you want to think about that, Pogba's going to probably go. If Madrid does Pogba, does that mean they want Haaland too? So there's a lot of uncertainty. And if everything kind of perfect stormed and then Haaland just didn't find a home, I could see Dortmund doing a deal with United for 85 up front or something, incentive back to maybe 120. I could see something, but we wouldn't get much else. And I could see Ole saying, I only want Haaland, right? Because he obviously raced the player. So there is a chance. I'm saying there's a chance. It's the smallest chance in the world because it would take all of our budget and we would need to sell Pogba for a solid fee before doing the deal. So a lot of moving parts. You can't rule it out because there's a lot of big players on the block, right? Messi could be going to PSG. Mbappe could be going. So much is going on this summer.
No, you're not wrong. I just I've seen this all before. I think the more likely transfer at this point, just because we could probably get him for cheaper, would be Sancho now, because there's gonna be they're gonna have no problem selling Haaland. That thing is that structured deal assumes that you're the only player at the table. And we have a neighbor who's noisy and is flush, just flush because they had not been affected by COVID. It
comes down to one thing: who does Pep Guardiola want? Does he want Erling Haaland or does he want Harry Kane? That's really the question, because he could have whoever he wants, and if he wants Harry Kane, he gets Harry Kane, and then who's going to pay a lot of money for Haaland? And then that's Chelsea. And then if he doesn't want to go to Chelsea, and he really wants United, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of the factors are out of United's control.
City want him.
And so we have to get so lucky to be able to even get him. But to say we're no way Jose getting him, I can't say that. I'm saying we are literally have to have everyone stumble, and he has to want United over everyone for us to get him, basically. Has to be a perfect deal of the cards. Royal flush, World Series of Poker, final table, type of thing here for us to get. And hey.
So I won't hold my breath.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I'm not saying there's a chance. There's no chance.
Speaking of chances, Paul Ince calls on Manchester United to make audacious swoop for Sergio Aguero on a free this summer. Essentially, Aguero's contract is running down, set to expire. Scored so many goals for City. he lives in Manchester, sir. Family's in Manchester. He's pretty much getting the boot. City is basically moving on from him. Hasn't really featured a lot. This is probably what we're going to get. Would you take Aguero? How would you feel about it as a, he did West Brom at the death,
you don't have to tell me.
Title, all that, how does it make you feel?
I mean, we should have signed him when Fergie tried to sign him before. And the Glazers said, nah, we can't pay 35 million pounds for the striker because we're trying to steal every dollar we can.
No, but what do you think of him coming to United?
I mean, we took Cavani. I complained about that, but it's a body. I would take him. He's he can mentor some of the players. I don't know what's his injury record. I think he's had some injuries recently under City. I don't know his age. I imagine he's on the wrong side of 30. But he's a top striker. He scored loads of goals. I don't think he'd want to move to the red side of Manchester, for a player.
I don't think he cares, man. Honestly,
we pay him.
No, I think dude, City's plastic. Nobody has loyalty to the idea of City really anymore. It's money and then location. If he doesn't want to leave Manchester, I mean, look, if you look at his appearances for City, 16, 17, 45 games. 17, 18, 39, 18, 19, 46, 19, 20, 32. So this is really the first season he had injury. So, I mean, he's been pretty rock solid. Look at the goals he scored. Oh my God, sir. 33, 30, 32, 23. I mean, since he joined City, 30, 17, 28, 32, 29, 33, 30, 32, 23.
Oh, he's a beast. And we should have signed him before, like I was saying. But how old is he?
Pulling it up right now, 32. He's got a couple good years.
I mean, this is what poor clubs do, bro.
I take him, bro.
I would. Of course I'd take him because we still haven't replaced Lukaku because his replacement's on the injury table.
He's better than Cavani, dude. He's better than Cavani.
Oh, he is. And he's Premier League proven. But Cavani, but you're going to have the same kind of issues. Sir, I'm open to it, of course, because we need all the buys we can get. He's talented.
Free. And on a free. So the whole point is I'm saying it's a free deal. It's Eddie Woodward special going in the free deals. Big wages, free deal, 2-year deal. Aguero coming to Manchester.
What's not to like? What's not to like? There you go. I mean, I can get behind that.
Sir, our next bit of news here, just going through the internationals, generally, which Reds are involved, starting with England, like we mentioned before. Dean Henderson, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, Jesse Lingard, Marcus Rashford. Mason Greenwood was originally called up to the Three Lions under 21, but had to withdraw through injury. So Mason Greenwood get better. But those 5 I'm going to be watching in the World Cup qualifiers, sir. Harry's going to start for sure. I bet Dino gets a punt. Luke Shaw's going to start. Rashford probably on the bench. Jesse probably on the bench. Rashford may not even be on the bench because of injury. Dan James and Dylan Levitt are with Wales. Scott McTominay among those selected by Scotland. And also elsewhere in Europe, we had Donny, like you mentioned, with Netherlands, Paul Pogba, Martial with France, Bruno with Portugal, De Gea with Spain, Lindelof with Sweden. Oh, by the way, Zlatan's back on Sweden as well. Eric Bailly and Ahmad have also been selected to the Ivory Coast squad. Ahmad getting his call-up, his first call-up to Ivory Coast, sir. We whinge about the team, but listen to those international features for Manchester United.
Oh, we've got a lot of strong players, and it's always good to see because when they feature for the national team, these are some good national teams, right? Spain, France, Netherlands, and England, of course. So my only concern is the amount of games, sir. And I'm very selfish. I'm a selfish Manchester United fan. I only care about United. So if they get hurt, I'm going to be all in tough about that. So. Dude, it's good for some of these players to get minutes. Like I said, Donny needs minutes. Martial needs some form. And Pogba is getting back from injury. So I'm all about it. Let's hopefully see some high-flying football, some goals, and Marcus stays not even on the bench, so he should be in the stands, getting a rest. The boy, we overplayed him with a broken back, and it's I feel like we're doing the same thing with his ankle/shoulder, which are apparently both injured at the moment. So we need him too much.
Euros or the summer. And again, just reviewing the England matches tomorrow, 12:45, San Marino. Sunday, March 28th at 9 a.m., Albania versus England. And then Wednesday, March 31st, England v. Poland at 11:45. That's probably the best game, England v. Poland. Sir, just touching on the U.S. men's national team. We have a U.S. men's national team watch here on the podcast. Alex, like I said, he's not the biggest U.S. men's national team fan. We're getting him into it. At the World Cup, you're like the biggest U.S. men's national team fan. But it's like before the World Cup, you're not that into it.
Number one fan, sir. Number one fan. I mean, that was in Brazil. Like, what was not to like? Sir, it's all about, like, if there's games to watch, if we had a USA national team player on United, that would help. But the problem is, this is American Red Devils. The America thing, of course.
We're American, and it's like, we like England. I like watching England because of the United Connect. But then you also have to say, that's the American part of the American Red Devils is like, let's go Team USA.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Team USA.
Is like, Team USA is that undervalued team, and this is probably the most exciting time to get behind them because of all the exciting talent we got coming up, right? So if there are Americans listening to this podcast who aren't quite in the U.S. men's national team, now's the time because World Cup 2022, United States, Pooley, a lot of good players, Timothy Way, sir. It's like they're going to be coming through. We're going to be looking pretty good. Tonight, the U23s in Olympic CONCACAF qualifying. This is a big deal. United States versus Mexico, 6:30 p.m. By the time this hits the podcast, it's probably on. Essentially, the winner of this wins Group A, and then there's a semifinal on March 28th and a final on March 30th. Mexico won the Olympics, if you can imagine it, last time. This is qualifying for Tokyo 2022. Pooley should feature because he's U23 here as well. Exciting times for the U23s. They basically are undefeated right now. Mexico is top of the group, so this will be a big game. Then we have the seniors, so the U.S. men's national team, the friendlies. March 25th, we play Jamaica, and March 28th, Northern Ireland. The exciting part is these are games in Europe, so it's a heavy European roster. Some names that sir. Zach Steffen, goalkeeper, Man City. John Brooks, Wolfsburg, sir, defender. We saw him score the goal against Ghana at the World Cup. Not too shabby. And then the midfield. This is kind of where we're coming up, sir. We have Sebastian Tyler Adams for RB Leipzig. He scored in the Champions League. Big deal. Also, our forwards, Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna for Dortmund, Josh Sargent for Werder Bremen, and Timothy Way. So big names on the team sheet. Big European prospects on the team sheet, sir, for the U.S. men's national team. Exciting stuff.
Do you think the USA national team coach would pick the same roster if they were playing in Arizona or Texas or in the United States? Say COVID wasn't a factor. You think he'd be dipping more into the MLS players?
There's some MLS in here as well. Sebastian Liggett, LA Galaxy, Kellen Acosta, Colorado Rapids. But again, I like that heavy European mix here, because again, the criticism I've had is we need our young players playing in Europe. And finally they are. Like Gio Reyna is a great example. Pulisic, I think he's kind of proven it. And then Gio's coming behind. Josh Sargent, Werder Bremen striker. He'll be featured at the World Cup. And these names are prime for 2022, sir. And I'm really excited as a U.S. men's national team fan. I think we have some of the best technical talent now in Europe. As far as the upcoming tournaments post this friendly period, it's kind of confusing, so I thought I'd break it down at a real high level. There's a Nations League tournament that happens in June for the U.S. men's national team. Essentially, CONCACAF Nations League was delayed because of COVID, and this is literally the semifinal final. So it's like literally 2 matches. U.S. men's national team is in the semifinal. That is going to be June 3rd, and then the final will be June 6th. Then we have some friendlies in mid-June, and then we have the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Sir, we actually went to the Gold Cup final against Jamaica, saw United States win down in Santa Clara. That will be from July 10th to August 1st. And then in September, starting September 2nd, it's the World Cup qualifying, sir. It's absolutely crazy. September, 3 matches. October, 3 matches. November, 2 matches. And that's 2021 for U.S. men's national team. It's kind of this whole COVID break has pushed all of our international football to this summer and fall. It's going to be an exciting time. If you're a fan of football, fan of the World Cup, man, that qualifying is insane. We're going to be doing tons of pods with the Manchester United, and then we have World Cup qualifying mixed in this fall for U.S. men's national team. Big, big game, sir.
Pod never sleeps. Pod never sleeps. They just need to get themselves a real coach, sir. I don't know how somebody with a win rate lower than 40% gets the head coach of the United States of America.
Sir, there's some, and you know what? As a United fan, you can appreciate U.S. men's national team because there's like that Glazer element where it's all about money and the guys running it.
Yep.
Hire the wrong coach so that he doesn't complain and plays MLS players for commercial reasons. There's a little bit of that as well. So, we're always going to speak out against the powers that be. Fan questions, sir. We tweeted out right before the pod. We have a few questions here. At ant_Triola, quote, with our transfer budget, what are some realistic bargain bin serviceable CDM right wing and right back prospects we could buy?
Good question. I mean, I think you might see Delo come back. Players that like normally you might ship and then try and buy another one. Maybe Delo features because he's done decently well in Serie A. And we know this club's not very good at signing people. So he's an option. CDM, I mean, that's a tough one because everyone that you want is not going to be bargain bin.
Rice is not bargain bin,
Exactly.
Unfortunately. But that's the name that comes to mind. Ndidi for Leicester.
Not bargain.
I don't think he's bargain bin,
No.
but, that's another player that I would rate. I think the one thing is like EPL starters you could think about. I mean, as far as right wing, Cantwell, Norwich. Norwich is probably going to win the championship. Norwich is number one. So he's not coming.
Right.
But that was a player that we could have got. I really rate Cantwell. For me, the right back, I think we're good with AWB. But you either got to loan B-Dubs or bring back Delo there. I totally agree.
No, I agree. Another one, depending if Brighton go down, is Yves Bisema. He's a CDM. Big upgrade to Fred. And he could be available on the cheap if they do go down. Now, they might not go down, but those are the kind of deals we should be doing. Like, what's his name?
Yeah.
Buendita? I think he's also on Norwich, and he's a hell of a player. Plays right wing as well. Would have been another good cheap option, but Sir Murtaugh, he's got thoughts. He likes Holland. We're gonna put all
Newcastle, St. Maximin. So if I think it's going to be who gets relegated and kind of looking, that would be the bargain bin as well.
Yeah.
Next tweet here at mhersey5, quote, who has the best opportunity to get in some minutes and impress on the international level to potentially increase their stock at Manchester United, sir? Give me that list.
I mean, the name that comes out is Donny, right? Because he's fit, hasn't had an excuse for not starting games. Not starting games, but he should have featured more. I think we all agree that he should have featured more this season. And he's a solid player. Usually starts for his team, and he probably didn't start because he hasn't featured for United. So he wasn't a de facto starter. I'd like to see him get some minutes. I'd like to Martial score a goal for France. And Ahmad, if he's given the chance to actually start, tear some teams up a little bit, get some minutes under his leg. All the players that have not gotten enough minutes, right? So I don't need to see Harry play. I don't need to see Luke Shaw play. I don't need to see Rashford play because they've played enough for Manchester United in the last couple of months. So, it's the players who haven't featured, and Donny's first in my mind.
No, yeah, I think you stole my answer. I'll tell you, Donny 100%. Martial needs the goal. He's going to play regardless, but he just needs to get that mojo flowing. And that's exactly what international break is for. Martial hits a brace, boom, comes back, fired up, let's go. Another thing is more of a anti is I ran a poll today on Twitter. So I said, instead of it's really all about Paul Pogba. We're living in Paul Pogba's world. We just don't know it yet. Will we hear from Paul Pogba or a scumbag agent this week regarding his desire to leave Manchester United, sir? International break, that's the time.
I voted yes.
Pogba says, I love it here. These players are so great. He's not saying anything good, but he's saying he's not saying anything bad about United, but he says everything's so in such superlatives about France that almost implies United isn't that good.
No, I'm waiting for his agent to run his mouth. And maybe he won't just because maybe he thinks we'll get sucked into the Holland deal and drive the price up. But everybody knows Pogba wants to leave. Everybody knows Pogba likely is leaving. Now it's about getting a deal done. And the deal that sticks out in my mind that actually might have legs because Real Madrid are signing David Alaba is Varane. A Varane swap deal. I actually think given COVID, given their age, their similar marketability and just general quality, I think that could be a deal that actually could be done. Because if assuming Varane wants to come and play for Manchester United.
I don't know if he's going to pair well with Harry, though.
No, he'd be good for Harry because he's quick.
Yeah.
Well, sir, tell me what you
for
think.
me, it's I'll tell you what, the fans say 85% we will hear from him or his agent, and then no is 15%. So everyone thinks we're going to hear. Usually it's like after the second game or the third game, like right before he comes, he's like in the locker room kind of. There's always this interview he does with the French media and kind of stirs the pot. Look, I also have a theory. Started reading the tea leaves. I think him and his agent have kind of chilled out a little bit. And if you history does repeat itself, Ronaldo chirping about going to Madrid, Fergie went to him and said, "Hey, give me a year," and then they kind of everything went quiet, and everyone was like, "Oh, he might stay, and then we ended up selling him the next summer. I think behind the doors we might have agreed to try to ship him. Now, as far as the deal goes, he could stay until his contract winds down. I think we will try to sell him, but the question is anyone going to pay for 1 year left on his deal for Paul Pogba? I mean, how much could you argue that you should pay for that? I mean, 40 million, 50. He has 1 year left on his deal, so you can get him for a free if you wait another year. Like 50 million seems rich for that, right?
No, that's why I think the most likely scenario is a swap deal, or boy, you could take 45 million, so we don't lose him on free. But right, because Varane also has a year left. That's the only reason I'm stretching. But I want to believe it, even though it's probably not going to happen.
For Varane.
Sir, we need a good center back. He's won the World Cup. I think that
so
matters.
we've been linked to Real Madrid center backs before, and they usually just get a new deal. So,
which is possible. We still could get burned and get nobody.
I'll tell you, here at the American Red Devils, the best expectation is low expectation when it comes to summer, baby. That's all I know, sir. That's all I know. Because you got Jughead Judge, you got Eddie Woodward, and now Murtaugh hanging out with the suits. Don't know what he's doing.
Hard to say.
It's going to be a wild ride, and we'll probably just extend Cavani.
Extend Cavani, yep.
But the idea that Cavani is the replacement, the idea that Ighalo or Cavani are the replacement for Lukaku, who is very durable and is healthy and scoring tons of goals for both Inter Milan and Belgium at the moment, is absolutely insane.
We lost money on that transfer and are still waiting for more than half of it. It's like, so this club is run by idiots.
Yeah. How to run a football club. How to run a football club in 5 easy steps. Ed Woodward. You can come write the blog, AmericanRedDevils.com. Sir, that's the podcast. Eddie, you want to write for the blog, you can reach out to us at AmericanRedDevils.com. And if you, a fan, has an idea on a column or opinion piece, or you want to write anything for fans, by fans, reach out to us, AmericanRedDevils@gmail.com, sir. You want to support the podcast, check out our Patreon page. Check out our store at www.AmericanRedDevils.com. Also our blog. It's absolutely ripping. Thank you to Editor-in-Chief Alex, absolutely killing it. And, sir, iTunes reviews. Drop an iTunes review, some cheeky banner. Hopes the podcast get found, and it's free. We never sleep, sir. It's international break. We're bringing quality content. It's all about good banter, talking about United. Big finish to the season, some big international fixtures. There's a lot going on. Maybe not in the social media universe, but a lot of good football being played. And a lot of it's a nice break to kind of think about United. I think the Stan Chow interview highlighted a lot of themes that I've been noodling on today. Stan Chow knows his stuff.
He does. So that's why it was so fun to have him. Big shout out to Stan. Thank you for coming on the pod. Thank you for being a fan of the pod. And it's fun, it's good to get some perspective. It's good to take a step back from the games for a little bit and look at what the hell's been going on the last year or two. So the problem is our pace has been breakneck. We just had a lot of games. So sometimes you can't get a second to breathe. That's where international break's nice, even though we never stop, sir. Can't stop, won't stop.
Well, that's because I would literally just call you on the phone and we would literally just have this exact conversation. So we might as well record it.
So this is going to be a 2-hour pod. We always got something to talk about, bro.
So there's so much to talk about with United. I haven't even got started. This is just the intro to the pod. We haven't even got the pod started yet.
Yeah, there you go.
Just kidding, sir. It's been a hell of a week for downloads. You want to give us the top 10 cities last 7 days?
Absolutely. Number one, how you doing? Culver City, California, Louisville, Kentucky, Appreciate you. Lakeland, Florida, Brooklyn, New York. How you doing? Hudsonville, Michigan, Loveland, Ohio, Chicago, Illinois, Maggio, France, Orrington, Maine, and last but not least, Dublin, Ireland. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the American Red Devils listening week in, week out. Couldn't do it without you. Join Patreon. It goes a long way. And just keep that red flag flying high, sir. A lot to play for in April and May.
Hey, everyone have a good international break. Enjoy the international football. Get some rest. It's going to be a big finish to the season, sir. April, May. It's going to rip. Unbelievable. As always.
Kicking a blue.
The